Good morning, friends. Hello. It's a beautiful July morning. It's around 9 a.m. And here's why I love my job. Today, what I'm going to do is drive around, find some roadside stands selling flowers, and we're going to pick some up for a couple bucks, and then we're going to go paint them. Since moving back home after time away, I really have a renewed sense of the beauty of where I live, and it just makes me so happy to do this kind of stuff. Now, the first place I stopped was a little country market. Just wanted to grab a few things since I was passing by. Got a geranium, my favorite flower, and cheese curds, of course, fresh strawberries. And then it was back on the road to find a flower stand. Now, this part of the country is a lot of farmland. There's a lot of Mennonite and Plain folk, old order religious communities living around here. It's so peaceful and it's so beautiful. And you see a lot of signs like maple syrup for sale, firewood, flowers, jam. And this is the roadside stand that I was looking for. They always have beautiful flowers from their garden. I picked up a bouquet. They want a couple bucks for these gorgeous floral bouquets. And I got some rhubarb jam as well. And then I just drove back home. I was about 20 minutes away at this point. I had pollen all over my face, as you will see here. But that's fine. I was just so happy to have my flowers and my geraniums and fresh strawberries. I grabbed some vases and started to clean the flowers outside at the picnic table because last time I did this, there were so many earwigs in these bouquets and they got all over the house. Not gonna make that mistake twice. Got the flowers into the vases. They look so beautiful. The scent of the lilies was just incredible, so strong and perfumey. And then I was gonna go up to the studio, but it was so gorgeous and Sully and Chris were out in the yard and I wanted to be out in the backyard. So I grabbed my easel and my little folding chair. This is my Art in the Park setup, a local artist market that I've been participating in. Sully was so helpful wanting to help me set up and take out all my paints. So we got him his own little painting space. That of course lasted about 5 minutes, but he got to use Mama's watercolors. And so he was happy. And then I had time to sit down and get started. And this is what my setup looks like. I'm using gouache today. It's from Winsor & Newton. I use a porcelain plate as my palette. I've got some hot pressed watercolor paper here from Arches. And then I was thinking, how am I going to start? I've got 2 glasses of clean water, by the way, so I don't have to get up. The bouquet is sitting there. And I was thinking about just doing something really loose. And one approach that I will take is instead of sketching the entire bouquet, which I sometimes do, I will just start with a flower and then I'll paint another one and sort of follow the bouquet around like a map. And then eventually I'll be like, oh, there's no room for that other flower that I didn't get to, but it's fine. I'm just going for a sense of what these colorful flowers look like. So if I paint a couple of these daisies and then I add in the lily or what have you, maybe I don't have room for this other lily, but it's fine. And I just have fun and just sort of go with it and approach it very freely. And that's what I wanted to do today as I sat out on this beautiful sunny morning. It was really hot, but it was gorgeous in the shade. And I just had so much fun. This was truly so relaxing. I encourage you to paint outside if you can make that work. It's a really wonderful feeling. And I think painting from life is very helpful. I know I've started to learn a lot faster since I started working from real life subjects and making my own bouquets and not just relying on photos from Pinterest or even from my own camera roll. Looking for something special to do with your kids this summer?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Shayda Campbell, and you probably know me from social media where I've spent the last 10 years encouraging adults to get creative. They typically need a lot more encouraging. But this summer, I've launched my first ever series of workshops made for children and their grown-ups. These art workshops are designed for you to spend quality time together, get to know and properly use your art supplies, things that you probably have after a school year, and most importantly, make some pretty stuff, because when we make something beautiful, it encourages our hearts and minds, both big and little, to keep on creating and imagining.
This summer, I invite you to come along with me
and make something beautiful. Head to my website, shaydacampbell.com, to get a special price on Me and My Mini Art Party by Shayda Campbell.
Recommended for ages 6 and up.
It's not for toddlers. I don't know what you do with them. They're crazy.
Now, for anyone watching that isn't familiar with gouache, gouache is really similar to watercolor paint. And actually, I've started using gouache in place of my watercolors quite often. I find that it's just so much more versatile, and I'll tell you why. So gouache is a water-based medium, but it's highly opaque, and that means you can use it in that way where it's very opaque, but you can also water it down, and you can see me doing that there at the top of these flowers where I've added a lot of water. I've got a beautiful light pink color, beautiful transparency, and so I often get questions like, I think I added too much water to my gouache or not enough, and really there's no such thing as too much water. If you want to use your gouache like watercolors, that's great. Use it in that very watery, transparent state. The only way to use it sort of incorrectly is to not mix any water in at all and use it right out of the tube, because even with water mixed in, it will still be beautifully opaque and it will be much more fluid and easy to paint with. So use it as you like, use it like watercolor, but then use it in that opaque way when you need to. Like if you need to cover up a small mistake with gouache, you actually can, more so than with watercolor. It's not acrylic. You're not going to paint right over like a bad painting. But you can, if you needed to add a little highlight in, you could. Whereas with watercolor, if you don't consider that highlight ahead of time, you're not going to add it in at the end unless you do your little gouache cheat, which is something I've recommended on the channel many, many times. So if you're getting into waters, highly recommend getting some gouache and experimenting with them, and just the vibrancy of color that I get with these paints in particular, I really love, and I've been really, really happy with. And just a reminder that all of the supplies are linked in the video description. I also want to talk a little about how I'm approaching each flower. So as I paint today, I'm thinking about just painting shapes, not really painting the flowers themselves. And that's allowing me to really loosen up and let go of the idea of getting everything perfect. Actually, when I found these bouquets, these flowers on the side of the road, I just thought, ugh, all of the bouquets are so complex. They have a lot of different flowers, a lot of different colors. I immediately was scared and was like, that's not what I'm really looking for. I'd rather just paint like 3 peonies, But I just had to buy what was there. I do love the floral arrangement, but painting it scared me because there's so much going on. So I decided just to take a really loose, relaxed approach. And I don't have to get everything perfect for this to be a great painting, and a painting that I can be really proud of. And I actually ran into a few troubles in the process that made me feel like I just want to stop. I just want to rip out this page and start again. And I was like, do not start again. You've already done some really good stuff here. Just keep going and let it be free and loose and wild and weird, just like the arrangement is. It's just this wonderful garden arrangement. And so I just hope that you can take a little piece of that as well and let go of the idea of getting everything perfect, and letting go of the idea that you always have to paint something that you're going to be successful with. Like, I know if I just bought a bouquet of one type of flower, I can be pretty successful with that. This one, a little bit scarier, a little bit more complex, but I just decided to paint the shapes. I was looking, where do I see dark daisy petals? Where do I see light ones? Let me just paint those in and be really free and loose with it. And then here's a place where I used the gouache. I felt like my gray was too dark, so I just quickly went over it with a much lighter gray, so a gray with a lot more white mixed in, and I was able to make that change and kind of make the daisy a little less heavy. Frankly, that daisy, I kind of was like, it looks a little too strong. This is where I was like, should I just start over? My lily is just like sitting there eating the other flower. And I was like, no, just have fun and put in some more shapes. And then the nice thing is, once you've put in a bunch of floral shapes, a great way to be successful is to just take a really, really dark green and kind of frame everything. And that's what we're going to do here to finish this piece. So now I'm kind of in like, finish it up, like get right with this painting mode. And to do that, I was like, you're gonna have to start filling in, so framing some of the florals that are already there, and you're going to have to start doing some loose ones around the edges. At this point, I also wanted to take a break from flowers, so I was like, just use a light gray and, mark out the shape of of the picture. Just get it on there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like everything can be a little wild and free. As I've said a million times now, the bouquet is kind of wild and free, and there's a lot going on. It looks beautiful. There's a lot going on. So why don't we capture that feeling in the painting? Why don't we let the painting be a little bit wrong, a little bit like loose, free, summery? I wanted to capture the spirit of my day, which was driving out among these beautiful, quiet fields to get this garden bouquet. And so let's let it be what it is, this wild thing. And so now I just started filling in with dark color. And the dark colors I used were burgundy because there was a lot of burgundy in the bouquet. And then you're going to see me go in with a really, really dark green, like a green that has a lot of blue and brown mixed in, so that I can create some really beautiful contrast. Before I did that, I just put some flowers kind of sticking out up top, out to the side, to make everything look really loose and free. And you can see it just looks kind of manic and wild and weird, but I'm actually now starting to love it. And the vase, the shape is a little bit odd, but I like it. This is actually what I've been trying to achieve in my work, is a sense of more sort of movement, more play. I don't like realism. I like a more primitive painting. So how do I actually achieve that in my own work? Well, it turns out for me, a big part of it is painting from life. Painting outside certainly doesn't hurt. Got to get that vitamin D in Canada when you can. And then working through mistakes, like saying, I'm not going to let this mistake define the whole piece, or not even mistakes, but just things that I think aren't worthy. And saying, no, that freedom that you got with those flowers that aren't perfect, quote unquote perfect, is actually what's going to make this painting so magical. And the fact that the vase looks a little wrong, that's the magic of this piece. And this is when I really started to love the painting again. And I was like, yeah, like I'm allowed to love this painting, even though there's parts of it that I was like, felt like I wasn't fully in control of. And then let's talk about control. One of my favorite things to do is to grab that blue, cobalt blue, and start to put the flower painting on the porcelain, on the vase. Now, of course, my vase is brown, but I just love the way the blue looks with the flowers, because typically you won't have a lot of blue flowers, and it'll be all these warm colors. So adding in that cool color, it just really works. And now I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do this, and it's looking so awesome. The addition of the really dark green and the burgundy to kind of frame all those other flowers, it worked out so well. And I think I captured the spirit of this floral arrangement. And then I had a lot of fun kind of making these very messy looking flowers that are the painted porcelain. I never want to paint the porcelain too realistically, I guess, because I want it to look sort of abstracted and playful, and that just works for me. But you could go for a very realistic sort of portrayal of the vase. I did some blue in some of the shadows, and then also just did some dark warm gray to help get that shape of the vase. And yeah, at this point I was kind of finishing it up. I did a little bit of a shadow across the bottom of the paper, continued to add shadow sort of right underneath the flowers at the top of the vase. And then, voila, she's done. You are allowed to like your painting, even if at a certain point you felt out of control. Just keep going and, sort of tame those mistakes, wrangle those issues, those imperfections, and you can create something really beautiful and wild and playful and whimsical and wonderful. I'm so proud of this piece. It will be for sale on Instagram at Shayda Campbell. If you would like to purchase it, send me a DM. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon with a new tutorial.